Hey, what's up guys, Alex here and welcome back to another basic Photoshop tutorial. Today I wanted to show you guys the magic, no pun intended, of the magic wand tool and healing band tool, and I'm just going to show you guys how I work around actual pictures of people. So for example, Jerome. Just because in the last one I just did a lot of basic Photoshop, text, layers, etc., but I never really got into depth on how, like the extent of what you can do with Photoshop. So what we're going to start off with is, here's a picture of Jerome, and I'm going to rasterize the layer first. So I always got to do that. So as you can see right here, if I zoom in quite a bit here, you can see he has some acne here. And now if you are a photography student, you would obviously not want this, or for example, if you're making a picture for someone, you wouldn't want the acne in the photo. So what I'm going to show you guys is how to get rid of this. So if you go right here on the left hand side, you should see I guess an icon of like a band-aid, and then it should say spot healing brush. If you click on it, it's going to be, okay, click on the actual layer. It's just going to come up, and there's a bunch of different ones, but I just use the spot healing brush. It's very simple. So for example, I'm just going to click on this, and then the pimple is gone. It's just completely gone. Photoshop is amazing. For example, I could do one here, and sometimes what it does is that it kind of captures the colors of the skin and matches it and copies with it. So for example, I did this here, and like you can kind of see the gray hairs. It's because it thinks it's down here, so like right there, it's capturing the gray hair. So obviously that's not going to work too well, but there you go. If you just move it, you have to mess around with it a little bit more. And if we go over here, you know, there's a bunch of different things you can do. So if I just did a huge portion of his head there, I can get rid of his wrinkles. But if you did, for example, this, it would really mess up his face like that. So you have to be a little careful with the spot healing brush. And for example, I could do this, and his skin would look a lot smoother. But again, always be a little careful. You don't want to overdo it as well. So if I did this for a little while and make it nice and smooth, smooth like butter, as you can see, like right here, it's capturing the wall in the background, which we don't want, so we can't really do that one. So but there's a difference between this one and then that one. So right there, obviously you can see it looks a little bit unrealistic, but you know, it's just a little option that you can do. So what I'm going to do is just keep this photo right here now. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you guys how to use a different one, which is the clone stamp. So what you do is, if you hold Alt on your keyboard, and just, for example, you want to capture this skin tone right here. So if you click there and you use your brush over here, and you can kind of see the crosshairs on the right hand side, but it'll copy what is it's like drawing. So for example, if you have a skin tone, for example, let's say I want to get this skin tone right here, and I want to copy it over here, so I can just sort of draw on it. But you have to be careful, because right now, as you can see on my crosshairs, I'm drawing off of his head. So you have to be a little careful when you do it, but that's an awesome tool you can use as well. Oh god, I can hear them in the other room. They're streaming Pixelmon Island. And finally, what I'm going to show you guys as well is using exposures, levels, brightness, and contrast. So this beautiful picture of Jerome right here, it's very dark, as you can tell. We shot it in the night. But for example, if I wanted to make this a lot brighter, I can click exposure right here and bring it up a lot more. But of course, it's like, oh, Alex, that looks too bright. You can mess with the offset. Obviously, that doesn't help a lot. The gamma correction doesn't help a lot. But what you can do is you can also, once you set the exposure up, of course, mess with the levels here. So there's a black, grayish black triangle here, a very gray one here, and a white one here. And what it does is it messes with the blacks, the grays, and the whites of the photo. So you can mess with that as well. And you can mess with that as your liking, if you want the photo to be a lot darker, a lot brighter. It's your preference on what your photo should be. And then we have brightness and contrast as well. Brightness, of course, as you expect, turns up the brightness, and contrast adds contrast or takes away contrast. For example, though, if for this picture, like I said, it feels a bit dark, so what I'm just gonna do is go to levels, bring up the grays a little bit and the whites, because I don't want these. I want the lights to match with Jerome, because originally it feels like he was very dark, very dark. But if we turn up the brightness now and the contrast here, and then what I'm gonna do is also add some saturation. So some saturation to add some color. And that looks a lot better. That looks a whole lot better. It looks like a nice street light is right here, and it's giving some good lighting. But that's pretty much the extent of what you can do. You can mess around with a lot of these settings to bring in some color, etc., etc. So anyways, on to the next thing I want to show you guys is how to, for example, here's a Flash costume. And as you can tell, I lined it up perfectly with Jerome's face. And some of you might be wondering, Alex, how am I supposed to get Jerome as the Flash? So what you're going to do is a nice way to make sure you have the template lined up is if you, the layer that the costume is or whatever it might be, you turn down the opacity a little bit so you can still see Jerome. And we're going to select Jerome's layer now. So this tool I use a lot. It's the magic wand tool. So this one, essentially what's going to do is as soon as I click this color, anything that is in the color range, it'll just select. And I'm just going to totally minimize this Flash costume. As you can see, the magic wand tool collected or grabbed or whatever you want to say the beige color here. So I'm going to Control X and it's completely gone. It's cut. And we're going to click on this one again and Control X and then it's completely gone. So there we go. We've got Jerome with a transparent background. So fantastic. We're almost there. So I'm actually just going to turn up the brightness as well, right? Or not the brightness, the opacity, sorry. And now what I'm going to do is essentially what you can really do if you wanted to, and this is a bit kind of a bit like of a ghetto-ish, I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but I'm literally just gonna have my erase tool and I'm gonna blah, 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 I can't talk today. I'm gonna start erasing away from behind. So literally like anything that's on the Flash costume, I'm erasing away. So of course there's a little white there. And now that Jerome is he's technically in the costume now. Obviously the costume is a little brighter. So we're going to turn up Jerome just a bit so he kind of matches with the costume. There we go. And now I'm going to shift click all three of them and merge them. So now it's like a one big photo. So there we go. There's Jerome in a Flash costume. And of course, let's get this out of here. But there you go. So that's pretty much the way I do it on how I get Jerome in shell shock thumbnails. So another example is if I use the quick selection tool, I just literally almost like I'm drawing on him. I select his body, and like here, for example, it selected the whole photos. Photoshop can do that sometimes. So what you can do is hold Alt, and it'll turn into a minus. I kind of circle with a big minus in it, and then you can just sort of select the background that you don't want. So there we go, and you can just let go, and then you can finish up the selection process right there, and there we go. So now you can do either one or two things. You can Control X or Control C and then Control V. And there you go. I have a nice little free image of Jerome that I can put in and mess with that. So of course, I think I showed this in the last video where I double clicked on the layer, and you can do a ton of different things. Usually what I like to do is drop shadow, and I turn up the size just a bit so it's like a nice shadow right there. Another thing I used to do is I turn on a stroke. So of course I missed some of this. Let's erase that. So I turn on a stroke and make it a nice white, and then drop shadow to the background, and there we go. So it gives it a nice shadow with a nice like white line cover around his body. But that's pretty much it for this little Photoshop tutorial. I'm trying to think of anything else that I could do, but literally I think that is the majority of it. I showed you guys how to, I guess, make a picture a lot nicer. It's just, you know, brightness, contrast. Like if you look at the contrast, you don't want to over add contrast, but the difference between no contrast and adding some contrast is pretty huge. You know, curves is actually a great tool as well. As you can see, you can mess around with that. It adds brightnesses, adds contrast. Obviously, it can make your, if you don't do it super well, it can make your picture a little weird. So what you do is just do color negative. If you want to do whatever, cross process, darker, lighter, linear contrast, strong contrast, etc., etc. You can. There's a lot of stuff like that. And photo filter is a great one as well. So for example, this photo, it's very bland. It doesn't have like a nice color to it, color tone. So what we can do is I add a photo filter so it looks like it's nice. It's a nice evening or something. Or if you wanted to do something different, like for example, there you go. It's blue because it's gonna be like it's cloudy or something, or even underwater. There we go. Now he's purple. No, I'm joking. But so many different things you can do with Photoshop, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video here. If you did, drop a like, drop a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And also let me know what other kind of tutorials you would like to see on the channel. I know I've done one on layers and text and etc. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm not the best at doing this tutorial stuff, but I'm doing my best. I'm trying to show all of you because I know there's so many of you who are interested, and I think it's freaking awesome. I don't know. Let me know what you'd like to see next, or if you would just like to see a time lapse of me doing a thumbnail or a graphic design of some sort. Let me know in the comments below. But anyways, I'll see you guys later. My name is Alex, and yeah, see ya.